All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. So first of all, welcome to the March release here for PBCS presented by eCapital Advisors. Before we jump into the new enhancements that have been delivered as part of the March release, why don't we just give a quick introduction to eCapital for those of you who might be new to the call. So at eCapital, we definitely look to build long-term relationships, and we help our business partners, take that commitment far beyond the technical deliverables here. So continue to really deliver projects that will increase your analytical capabilities and really truly become partners, with your organizations. We are established, 25 million and growing, 300 plus global customers, far beyond just our EPM capabilities. We also have business analytics, anything from data architecture all the way down to data visualization and self-service, implementations and upgrades, and a variety of training opportunities, as well as road mapping and hosting services. Here's just a quick slide showing some of our clients from a variety of different industries. And then here's kind of an overall NASCAR slide just showing a variety of logos here that we've worked with, primarily here in the Midwest. Some big names you'll notice right off the bat there. So. My name is Ryan Kohler, so I'm a manager on the EPM practice. I'm going to be kind of taking you through the journey today. Bob Ussett, my colleague, is normally with me. He has had some other commitments come up, so won't be able to attend today, but we look forward to having him back next month. So, a quick refresher on what we really do as part of this webinar series. Each month Oracle is producing a release that includes enhancements and bug fixes for their PBCS product. We really go through and we check all these different enhancements. We go through and test them and try to really understand which ones are meaningful and which ones are just strictly cosmetic. And then we want to present that to our partners so that our clients feel ready to go when that release is pushed into their production environment. And then you guys feel like you have a good understanding of what new functionality you can leverage and what might change slightly in your application from a look and feel standpoint. So before we jump into the new features, for those who might be new to the call and maybe don't know as much about PBCS as others, do want to just give a quick overview on PBCS in general. So PBCS is Oracle's planning and budgeting cloud services. It's a subscription-based model that really provides the state-of-the-art planning and budgeting system for organizations. Some things PBCS includes is a nice simplified interface that can be easily connected to via mobile devices as well. Some built-in financial reporting that comes with the product, so no additional cost there. Nice streamlined input forms that can have real-time aggregations and calculations kicked off in the background, as well as some light dashboarding, which can really help kind of visualize some of your data themes and trends. So you might be asking, why choose PBCS, a cloud subscription-based service versus an on-premise implementation? These are kind of the quick hitters here. So faster innovation, so that's a big one. That shorter upgrade cycle. Those of you who have been through upgrades in an on-prem environment, and understand that it's a tedious task and can be time consuming, and also sometimes maybe just not the best investment for your organization. With PBCS, the subscription-based cloud model, you're always going to have the latest and greatest release in your instance. So again, that's why we're really reviewing these releases to help you understand which enhancements are meaningful to your organization and what can you start to leverage more of. And again, no additional cost with those new enhancements. They're just going to continue to feed them to your instance. The next one here being faster deployment. Because there is a little bit more of integration in the cloud, the more cloud offerings your organization moves to, the more seamless your environment will become. So, you can take advantage of some of the pre-installed and pre-configured components for data integration, as well as some of the data visualization factors as well. Overall, what we've seen with our clients is this definitely does result in a lower cost, ultimately from your organization. So, the big ones obviously being reduced infrastructure and reduced IT maintenance costs, because you no longer have to purchase servers, you no longer have to allocate CPU across the organization to your EPM instance. All of that is covered within your cloud subscription-based service. I think lower risk is something that's oftentimes not looked at close enough. So you can have the best installed on-prem instance, in the world, and we'll still have downtime, from period to period. You're just always kind of hoping that, maybe the service doesn't go down during a critical close cycle, or during a critical budget cycle, and we're always kind of crossing our fingers for that. But obviously, inevitably, that will happen from time to time. So when your system's down, that's a lot of lost cost and effectiveness for the organization. With PBCS, and we see that 100% uptime being very true. So the only time we ever see an outage is when it's purposely scheduled, to improve something or to, apply some sort of patching. But all of that is communicated effectively, and you don't have to worry about unexpected downtime with Oracle's subscription-based model here. So those are some, quick benefits of why organizations typically choose PBCS and why they've continued to move to the cloud here through the past few years. Do want to just mention, don't forget about ePBCS. That is the enterprise edition of planning, budgeting, cloud services. Just a different licensing model, but does provide you some additional flexibility within your application. So, eCapital can definitely help you evaluate your options and help you decide whether or not the enterprise edition is right for your organization, or if the standard edition will meet your needs just fine. Part of those pre-built modules in ePBCS, they really include the projects, the financials, the workforce, and the CapEx. And recently, as last summer, they added a new module for strategic modeling. So you now have 5 pre-built modules within your ePBCS application, as well as custom plan types that you can leverage as well. So really kind of creating that full flexible environment that can help expand your PBCS footprint for your organization. Do want to just point out, regardless of whether your organization moves to the Enterprise Edition or the standard PBCS edition, you're always going to have the SmartView Excel add-in available to you. So we also are able to update the most recent version of SmartView whenever we need to, directly from your application's URL. One thing that's great with SmartView that I think pretty much every organization is using is the ad hoc analysis that's available through Excel. I think most financial departments love using Excel, and they really appreciate the flexibility of the ad hoc analysis that can be performed there. Do want to mention, though, that you can use SmartView within Microsoft PowerPoint and Word as well. And I'll be honest, I don't have a ton of use cases for the Word connection, but the PowerPoint, we've definitely helped organizations adopt and build some nice PowerPoint slides that are leveraging SmartView that have really helped save organizations time on refreshing, maybe monthly reporting decks or quarterly sector reviews and things like that. So a feature of SmartView that is often, overlooked, but I think is something that can be a strong focus for certain organizations. So now let's jump into why we're here today, and specifically that's to review the new features for the March release. So here is our, release readiness guide for March. Pretty small update here actually, and I can't believe it's March already. This year is flying by. But you'll see those are kind of our bullet points that we're going to be reviewing today. There is one update that is a nice enhancement that we will review kind of in the middle of the presentation. So I think that's going to be one that a lot of organizations that already have PBCS, you're going to want to look into that, and eCapital can certainly help you, evaluate options and use cases to help maximize your PBCS investment. So, just want to remind you of the Oracle Cloud Customer Connect. So this is something that continues to be included on the release readiness notes each month. But again, if you can register, sign up. It's really going to provide you with updated release info, upcoming Oracle events that may impact the products that you own from Oracle, and some nice Q&A forums. So kind of a good social offering here from Oracle, that really is a place that can build a community of Oracle Cloud users across multiple platforms. And you can connect to this directly from the home page of your PBCS instance, and that's that little note there on the bottom of the screen. That's all that is referencing there. Oracle has also continued to include the documentation feedback note on all of their release notes from month to month. So they are encouraging all of their users to continue to submit feedback to the email address here referenced on this screenshot here. Either you can request additional documentation on specific features within the tool, or simply recommend changes to documentation. They're pretty open to hearing this feedback and actually making a lot of changes. That is one thing that we've noticed with the cloud offering here of their planning budgeting cloud service, is their documentation is very good, and they continue to expand on it. So not only just documentation, but videos as well, and a lot of good screenshots. So when we look at this month here, your updates were pushed to your test environment on March 2nd, and they will be hitting, or they did hit your production environment on March 16th, so last Friday. So you should see this, any of these updates already in your production environment ready to be used. The first enhancement or update that's included in the March release here this month is the new application creation page. So they've slightly changed this here to kind of separate this by almost functions, so finance, human capital, and sales. And if you note, under finance, you see that planning and budgeting. That's where you would start to create your planning and budgeting solution. So in the past, this screen looked a little bit different, but they're trying to have kind of a one-size-fits-all, cloud creation page for Oracle Cloud products, specifically under the EPM umbrella. So if you look there, you'll see the financial close under finance as well. That's going to be the FCCS product, and the tax reporting is an additional product as well. And then you look into, additional applications within human capital and sales. So, again, as a reminder, this screen does look a little bit different. So maybe in your test environment, if you're creating a new application for some testing, just remember to click under finance there and go under planning and budgeting to kind of start that application creation wizard. And then you should be able to follow the menus from there to very easily create your skeleton application there. The next enhancement for this month is a new script to generate audits for provisioning reports. So you can now include a command on your EPM Automate setup to actually run a provisioning audit whenever you want to, and you can schedule that and automate that process via EPM Automate. And this is going to be a provisioning audit that's going to be able to tell you and show, not only your organization, but auditors as well, what has changed from a provisioning standpoint. So what roles have changed by user, the access points. You can kind of customize this to be a one-size port, for your provisioning needs. So kind of a nice enhancement here just to be able to have commands that you can run this directly within EPM Automate, kind of streamline that process a little bit. So this next one, this is kind of the enhancement. I think it's a pretty big enhancement, and this is something I would recommend everybody checking out. And again, if you have additional questions on this, feel free to reach out to eCapital. We can definitely help you evaluate options to be able to fully maximize your investment here within PBCS and give you some ideas of how you could be leveraging this new enhancement. This new enhancement is the support of Infolets. So, Infolets are basically, kind of a dashboard within a dashboard, kind of a merged dashboard that provides insight into your organization very quickly. So this is going to be, things that you can reference very quickly and can give you kind of actionable decisions based on the Infolet that you have set up. Now, from a technical standpoint, I do want to mention that, like in the Simplified interface, you're now going to see a new navigation flow button called Infolets. So similar to how you would see reports or dashboards. Now, this specific infolet that I have here on the screenshot, does include some graphs and infolet procedures that are not all within this update. So that tells me that Oracle will continue to invest time and enhancements into this whole infolet, functionality standpoint. So I bet you in the April release, we're going to see some enhancements to this. And probably as we go through the summer, we're going to see some additional enhancements. So this is something that I think will really expand that data visualization and light BI strategy within your PBCS instance. Do want to point out that, just like the dashboards, just like the financial reporting within PBCS, keep in mind that all of the data must be in your PBCS application. So I think that's going to be still the main difference between, an ultimate BI solution versus kind of some of the light dashboarding and data visualization that's available within your PBCS instance. So that can also dictate how you design your application, because if there are certain metrics that you want to make sure are included, you can always build those into your application and use data management to map them in. So again, if you want to take a step back and kind of evaluate your current strategy and maybe some potential enhancements to it, eCapital is definitely available and will help you do some road mapping there and kind of act as an advisor based on what we're seeing other organizations do within the industry. So some things I wanted to point out around designing Infolets. So that screenshot on the far right, that's really looking at an Infolet screen within an application itself. So those all would be available currently. We do have some good documentation that has been provided to us for the Infolet feature. So one of the things that they point out is kind of the anatomy of an Infolet. So you basically have 3 different sections of this Infolet that can kind of help bring your data together. The first one is going to be that front view. And so that might be things like, meaningful metrics, status or counts or totals within your application. The back view is going to be an example of that would be like graphs and graph setups, things like that to help kind of visualize your data. And then the expanded view would be additional details to kind of tack on to the front view. And so, that might, if you look at the screenshot here to the right, you would see that all of these views together then can give you a lot of different information very quickly. You'll also notice that you can have different Infolet sizes. So you can have 1 by 1, 1 by 3, all different sorts of sizes so that you can kind of build the Infolet that makes the most sense to your organization and give you meaningful information very quickly. One of the things that I liked within the documentation is Oracle strongly recommends that you start with building dashboards that you want to leverage within your Infolet. So, a lot of times, when we're building dashboards, you're going to start with building forms. So you have your data forms that you can reference, that you can kind of build a dashboard on top of. This is really kind of expanding on top of that. So, in this case, can really start to leverage, actually leverage the dashboards you're creating to then go in and create your Infolet. So another thing that I liked within the documentation was specifically around the 10-90-90 rule of thumb. So what that really means there is kind of getting into the overall design of your Infolet. So, I think Oracle has some good benchmarks here or some good rule of thumbs that they mention. And really it's all around, these Infolets should provide quick status of certain metrics within the organization to give you actionable decisions. So think about the top 10% of use cases for data visualization here. Then think about the 90-90. So of that 10%, the top 10% of use cases, let's talk about situations where 90% of the user community would be asking these questions 90% of the time. And if the criteria kind of meets all 3 of those conditions, it's probably a good candidate for an Infolet. So I thought that was an interesting way to look at things, but I thought it was also very meaningful and can help kind of design the ultimate Infolet for your organization. So, this is a good one here. I like this one quite a bit. I think that this can provide a lot of good data visualization for your organization and really kind of help expand on some of those light dashboards that we've helped some clients create already. The next enhancement is actually a Smart View kind of integration enhancement. So you can now leverage the navigation flows for connections between connections within Smart View. So, on the simplified interface, you can kind of do that springboard effect where you're jumping back and forth from multiple instances if your organization has multiple Oracle Cloud products. You can now do that same thing in Smart View, and you can create shared connections and private connections on multiple data sources. So this is going to be a lot easier of a transition now as more of these Oracle applications are starting to leverage Smart View, so that you can kind of have full parity between the simplified interface as well as Smart View, and now from a connection standpoint as well. So kind of streamlining some of that usability from an end user perspective. The next update for the March release is a new schedulable job type, and this is optimized aggregations. So if you recall, last month they had some new schedulable job types that all focused on cube performance. It looks like they're kind of continuing that theme this month and focusing specifically on ASO cubes or reporting cubes. So you can now schedule jobs that will help enable query tracking. So query tracking when turned on will kind of help record data that's queried from end user perspectives. And then it will select the most appropriate set of aggregate views to materialize in the database. So, basically, it's going to be tracking what sections of the database are hit most frequently from an end user perspective. And then what you can do is you can actually optimize those views based on the query tracking results. So this is a pretty common exercise that we'll go through on-prem already with ASO cubes. So it's good to see that they're adding this to the list of schedulable job types from a cloud perspective as well. The note there is just important to reference there. So the following actions can clear the stored query tracking in an ASO cube, but it does not disable it. So if you run any of those 5 processes within your ASO cube, you're gonna impact the results of the query tracking, but it's not gonna turn it off. So it'll continue to track the query results once again from the end user community. You may just not have that full list if any of those additional processes are run within your ASO cube. So clearly a focus of Oracle the last few months here has been around cube performance, specifically on ASO cubes. So good to know that they're continuing to refine what we can automate within these applications. Now the next one here is really more on documentation, I guess, but they have released some new simplified interface videos. And probably the reason for this is because, as of last month, the simplified interface is now the go-to interface to use within your PBCS applications. So you can no longer access the old school versions, and Oracle will no longer support them if there's issues that do come up. So specifically, Oracle has a large YouTube channel. All of this is accessible directly from your PBCS instance, under the documentation areas. But they really do have a lot of different videos here within their YouTube video page. So you'll see specifically number 57 and 59 there on the right. Those are the new ones that have been released this month. So the first one being performing key tasks in PBCS Simplified Interface Part 1. And then the number 59 there is simply Part 2, so expanding a little bit on that. So Part 1 there is really simple stuff, kind of looking at the navigation flow cards, how to access certain areas of the application. And then Part 2 is really getting into some of the more detail as far as, how do you start to create reports and how do you start to create dashboards within the simplified interface. So I would encourage everybody to watch those few videos. I mean, it's good insight and can be good refreshers from time to time. They're only 5 minutes long, but hopefully everyone's already using the simplified interface. But if you ever need a refresher, or if others in your organization need a refresher, I think these are great videos to point them to. So not really an enhancement, but it was on the release guide, so just wanted to reference it again. As of last month, the standard interface support has been removed. So again, we're all using the simplified interface already, so shouldn't be a challenge there. But just wanted to remind people of that. So that was really the new features that were included in the March release. Again, as I mentioned, a pretty small release in general, but that Infolet enhancement is quite a good one. So I would encourage everybody to check that out. And again, if you have any questions specifically on there, please feel free to reach out to Bob or myself, and we can get you answers to any questions that you may have. A couple of support updates. Aside from the simplified interface movement, the classic dimension editor as of March 16th has been discontinued. So we're all having to use the new dimension editor, that new enhanced one that really kind of mimics SmartView a little bit closely. So a much better look and feel, a lot easier to do larger tasks all at once. That's a great enhancement right there. So although we're losing the support of the classic dimension editor, I don't think anyone's too sad about that. So, and the next one here is the Reporting Studio desktop client. So, I think anyone that's using FR reporting within PBCS is already using the Web Studio. And as we've talked about in prior webinars, really full parity between the client that you would install on your machine and the Web Studio. So moving forward, continue to use that Web Studio, but as of April 20th, it will no longer be supported on the desktop client. So again, that was the release, for this month. Again, we'll continue to go through the monthly releases, evaluate the new content, go through it, list by list, and then report back to our clients and our partners so that you feel, ready to go and kind of take on that next release and hopefully leverage some of that new functionality that Oracle is providing to us on a monthly basis and really maximize that investment that you're, putting forth into PBCS. So please encourage you to continue to attend our webinars, our Oracle PBCS monthly update series. Do want to encourage you to register and check out some of our past videos so you can watch on demand every month. And you can also get links to our eCapital YouTube page, similar to Oracle's. We have a lot of different, 5-minute videos. Might be a little bit easier to consume them as opposed to attending a full 30-minute webinar. One of the ones I would recommend too is just revisiting our top enhancements webinar of 2017, where we kind of did a top 10 list, David Letterman style, and walked through all of the 2017 releases and came up with our top 10 of favorite ones that would certainly be a good idea for your organization to check out. And if you're not using all of these, I'm sure that you have a use case where they could come in handy and, again, really help optimize that investment that you're doing within PBCS. Again, if there's any questions of any kind, PBCS or non-PBCS related, feel free to reach out to Bob or myself, and we'll be happy to get back to you and can help you roadmap any decisions that you may have for your organization and really help, again, maximize investment that you're putting forth for your organization. So thank you for everybody for attending today, and we look forward to next month.